We are artists. Yeah, so I'm Lee Putman. I'm 32 and I am a full-time artist, art tutor and art lecturer. I was a part of the UK street dance scene I've been a part of the UK street dance scene since I was 18, I would say, as a popper, a body popper. And I've done other styles as well. So I did a bit of breaking. I started out breaking and then I did locking as well. I've dabbled in hip hop and I did a lot of choreography in my earlier years. And dance is one of those things where I feel like I've done a lot for myself based on my own standards, you know? Like I was this kid that didn't leave the UK, or let alone Watford, before 18. And then after that, I traveled the world with dance. So I've done quite a bit. So yeah, I've battled at events like UK B-Boy Champs, Battle Bad, and I guess some others, I can't remember what the fuck, Euro Battle or whatever. And then I've performed a lot with different groups around the world, most notably probably UMA, my group that are my family, and Promotion, a group of 6 or 7 high-level poppers from UK, and we've done a little breaking convention tour and competed in different countries like Japan, Germany, and performed in America, Luxembourg, UK, that kind of stuff. Met a lot of people, made a lot of friends, and just kind of cemented myself as part of the UK street dance community. And yeah, it's a big part of my life. I have been doing art alongside dance for 10 years or so now, and I haven't had a lot of experience introducing concept in my work, let alone my preference, which would be introducing concepts into the work whilst maintaining strong visuals. And I wanted to do that, but every time someone would talk to me about it, I would just roll my eyes, because it was the same ideas and kind of even delivered in the same crappy way, like, yo, you should mix your art and dance. And it was yeah, you should just like put paint on your shoes and like moonwalk across a canvas. And I was always like, all right, like, okay, fine, all right, I'll try it one day maybe. And obviously I wasn't going to. And then I remember like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was working with Clara on a project for In The House, and I was doing some graphic design work. And she suggested it. She suggested I should mix the two. And I rolled my eyes again and I was like, no. And I explained what I just explained here to her. And she goes, no, you should mix movement and art. She said to me, you should you mix movement and presentation. And I hadn't thought of it in that way with those words, because it's the same idea, but I can now think about it completely differently because she had described it differently. And after that, I then went and spoke with Ivan Blackstock, and he basically just said it in the most simple way. And he looked at me and almost like, he looked at me like I was an idiot for even asking how to mix the two. And he just goes, you should just draw dancers. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I should just draw dancers. And then this project kind of just manifested itself, and I'm not even sure where the idea came from, if I'm honest. So the reason for this project and mixing the two in this way, mixing art and dance in this way, was because I love both fine art and street dance, and they're two completely different worlds. But the idea in its essence is that I want to put street dance in fine art spaces and have people that appreciate fine art to look at street dance through that same lens. Because in art, I don't think it's controversial to say that there's a class system of the arts, that there are some genres in art that are appreciated more as classier or finer or higher arts, like ballet, like classical music, and then there are some that are seen as lesser or lower arts forms like hip hop or street dance culture. I think people are classist and racist. I don't really and I don't say that in an aggressive way. I don't say like, oh, like fuck these people and they have to appreciate. I just think I think that's just how humans are. And I think we're a bit xenophobic, you know, like we like our groups and people. If you're born into money and you're born into those circles, you like those things just like you would if you're born into the same circles that hip hop is introduced in street dance culture and street culture is introduced in, you know, like, I just think it's ignorance. Like you don't have an understanding of what that thing is. The reason I've chosen specifically poppers is because there is a specific type of movement within popping that has presented itself throughout history and has been appreciated by fine artists throughout history. And I believe that I have enough experience in both disciplines of fine art and street dance to be able to bridge at least that gap. So throughout history, you've got really, and I don't mean to bore anyone with this, but throughout history, you've got stuff like the Statue of David. So it's a Michelangelo piece that was made in like 1500s. Like, the stance of Statue of David is a thing called Contrapposto, right? And this stance is basically, it's meant to show a human in their natural relaxed form, but showing the body in a dynamic way. And you can see it even today in fashion shows, for example. So if you look at fashion models as they're walking down the runways, you look at someone like Gigi or Bella Hadid, for example, even the way they walk has this contrapposto movement, which is where you drop your weight onto one hip and you relax your one of your shoulders and you tilt your head and you have this dynamic range of movement. And in popping, we have that same thing. I'm going to split this project into two parts or two phases, and the first phase is drawing, and the second phase is oil painting. Both are going to be figurative, which basically just means drawing or painting the human form. And the first phase, which is what this documentary is about, is the drawing part, and these are gestural drawings. Now, a gestural drawing is just capturing the essence of a form, so there aren't really many details that I'm going to be including in this, and this is quite an appreciated and well-respected and quite a difficult discipline to be able to execute within the fine art world. So it's something that people look at and they appreciate a lot, especially when it's done very well, because it takes a high amount of skill to be able to do this in analog mediums, so natural media like pencil or pen or whatever, as opposed to digital. Right, because you can't really self-edit. The point of gestural drawings is that you're only meant to do it within a few lines and gain or capture the most essential part of the form to give you the essence of what that body is doing. But the really important part about it is that it captures dynamic movement in gestural drawing. Like that's the essential part of it. So it works perfect with dance. There are 6 kind of archetypes of movement that have been captured throughout fine art history, and I'm going to be drawing 3 of them. So it'll be contrapposto, adlocution, and serpentine. These 3 forms not only appear throughout history and in fine art, but they also appear in popping. And depending on the approach that you take or a dancer takes to popping as a style, these 3 types of movement are what poppers build their movement around. Now, the 3 poppers I've chosen for this all do one of these types of movement. So it'll be Camilla, Breaks, and Abe. And each one of these do contrapposto, adlocution, and serpentine. I have like 2 goals with what I want people to take away from this, right? Which is, one, a unified one, which is the one that I've been talking about, which is I want you to just appreciate the movement. And I want you to really appreciate the beautiful shapes that these artists are creating with their bodies, right? Regardless of who you are. But then the second one is, it's dependent on where you sit in our society. I want you to take away something different, right? So if you're someone of the higher art forms or art who appreciates fine art, like I've described, that wouldn't normally look at our stuff, I want you to take away from this that there are people that you may not necessarily think of as fine artists or as someone who is worth your time to appreciate as an artist, and reconsider that narrative and think, you know what, they've got something of value that I really like, and it might take a bit of time for me to learn to appreciate it, but there is something there and I shouldn't immediately dismiss it just because of these preconceptions that I have. And the second side of it is from us as street dancers. I want you to feel as though you're represented in those spaces. Like, for me, that's as simple as it is. I want you to walk into spaces with these drawings or with my paintings that I'll be making after this in the second phase and go, wow, there's someone in this portrait gallery or in this exhibition or in this gallery that looks like me, that represents the things that I appreciate, the music that I like, the environments that I like being, the clothes that I like wearing. We are artists. I see us all as artists. If you look at anyone, I dare anyone in our scene to look at people like Ivan, Kenrick, Tally, Brooke, Nick, any one of these people, Sonny, and say that they're not artists. I would dare anyone to say that. And I know they would be wrong, and I could argue them that they're wrong the whole time. And I think because we're not represented in the spaces that use the word art and artists all the time, like these spaces, we may not see ourselves in that way. But if we see ourselves represented in the Tate, or Tate Modern, or National Portrait Gallery, or the Other Art Fair, or the Affordable Art Fair, or Saatchi Gallery, or Clarendon Fine Art, and we say, wow, we're in there because we're artists. Someone's represented me as an artist, and I'm now seen that way. I'm an artist. And I think it helps us form and forge our identities by seeing ourselves represented in places that define us as such.